Hello. Welcome back to the Sibling Soapbox podcast. I am Heather Evans,
And I'm Tristan Venture.
and we are the brother-sister team, not afraid to tackle a lot of different topics. Some of them might be controversial, some of them not. But today, we are going to talk about parenting in the 21st century. So grab your coffee or your wine or whatever you want to put in there and step up to the soapbox. Let's do this.
The Sibling Soapbox Podcast. Sibling Soapbox.
Let's do this. But hey, before we start, I need some advice, Heather. Quick question. Because I'm the stay-at-home parent, responsible for meal prep for dinner. What do you guys do for dinner? Any advice? I know you've been the stay-at-home parent for a while now. Any advice for like dinner? Like, what do you guys have for dinner tonight? Like, what do you guys normally do?
Oh, God. Okay, well, this is a big one, especially in my family, because I don't know if you know this about me. I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom or be a housewife. Like, they offered home ec in school. I never took that. I never took culinary. So I think you and I, like in college, it was so easy to just toss something in the microwave or whatever, bowl of cereal. So cooking became a bit of a challenge for me when I became a parent and especially a stay-at-home mom. But for us, the pandemic taught us one thing, and that was having some consistency with meals because our family, the way that we eat, I'm the head of this, like organic, gluten-free, dairy-free. It is really difficult for us to eat out. Like there just aren't that many places to eat out, not to mention how much it freaking costs for a family of 5. So the pandemic is when, that wasn't even available to us to be able to eat out. So we started planning meals. But it's so hard, Tristan, because I have friends who are total meal planners with their families and they enjoy cooking and they enjoy the whole process of creating these beautiful meals for their families. And a lot of times I'm just in like survival mode of like, well, let's just get something on the table. I do love a good family dinner, though. We try to have that in our house. But I have found for me, I'm not a creative cook. My husband is, and he can just take anything, like give him 10 ingredients and he'll make something amazing. I am more of like the steady, what can I make that's predictable, which I think there's a bonus to that. Sometimes the kids love, okay, we know that mom's meals are going to be this and dad's are the surprise. And sometimes that's a great surprise and sometimes it's not. Not saying my cooking is always, I'm not always well received, but I have found that making a bit of a plan, like we had scheduled in the pandemic, okay, on Mondays, we're going to have dip sandwiches. And on Tuesdays, it's going to be, tuna melts or whatever. So I kind of still follow that. Like last night, I made a roast and potatoes, blah, blah, blah. Wednesdays are usually burger nights in my house. So I make a good burger night. And again, I got to do the gluten-free and the dairy-free versions with the cheese and the buns. But that helps me to have a little bit of consistency. I do have nights since I have teenagers now, and I'm oftentimes running them back and forth. I'll have free for all nights is what I call it. And they get to just grab what they can and make what they can, but they're getting better at it. 2 of mine are really good at prepping their own meals. Yeah, the cooking thing, it's hard. Meal planning and all of that is really hard. I'm just not the best at it, but I do the best that I can. So you're in a totally different situation because you, if I remember correctly, you're not a big cook and now you're in this position of needing to help with mealtime, right? So what do you do? How do you manage
Yeah.
this?
It's true. I'm no Gordon Ramsay, that's for sure. And my wife is a huge fan of Gordon Ramsay, by the way, and watches that show. And oh my goodness, all these amazing food. And here I am the bowl of cereal guy. No joke. And honestly, if there was a pill you could take, you didn't have to eat like dinner, I would take that pill and just be done and not have to deal with all the prep and the cleanup and all of that. But I do enjoy good food, especially when you're traveling abroad, like Italy or France or something. Don't get me wrong, or Spain. Love food, but the work involved to make the food is just sometimes, is it worth the investment, the return worth the investment for food. It's a sustenance thing. It's like required, almost like sleep. How much time do we waste? But yes, I'm trying to get better at it. And my family's not huge on leftovers. So my wife sometimes will make, a bunch of like a big roast or something, or a tortilla soup or something on the weekend, and then expect family members to eat that throughout the week. But you're like, if you get one, maybe max 2 nights out of it, and then that's it. I do see other families, a lot of other families, they eat out, they eat fast food. And fast food can be more affordable than buying groceries and prepping your own food, and easier for parents who work long days and just need to get food on the table, get food in the mouths of the kids, and then go on to the next thing, activity. Part of being a parent is you just got to keep this train moving down the tracks and staying on track. So that is definitely one of the challenges.
Yeah, especially I was going to say for two working parents, I marvel at my friends who they're both working and yet they come home and they still manage to feed the family. And oftentimes, like you said, that's fast food. We do what we have to do. Like that's it. There's no judgment there. But I marvel at the ones who are coming home and like making something still. I don't know, hats off to you. The one thing that I must say, this is, not sponsored, but the Instant Pot has saved my life. Instant Pot is like the pressure cooker or like the crock pot of our day. You can just throw a bunch of stuff in there and it's so much faster and so much easier than a crock pot because it doesn't take all day long. That thing, man, that's a time saver.
It's true. And I can attest that as someone who isn't a chef, doesn't like to cook, I've used the Instant Pot many times. And it is easy, just have your ingredients, you throw them all in, you braise whatever you're doing, and then turn it on and walk away. I like
Right.
that. I like it. It's almost like a microwave. You push some
Yeah.
buttons and you go. You push go and come back later.
Do you know that my family, we lived without a microwave for at least, oh gosh, 15 years, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember Heather. I'd come over and want to heat up some coffee and be like, you gotta fire up the
No.
stove there, buddy.
Yeah, our
Okay.
microwave died, and I was like, I had read about the things that it can do to your food and how it takes away all the nutrients when you microwave, and I was like, if it died and I don't want to buy another one? Oh, you get creative with how you reheat things, and even like beverages. I remember when Dad would come visit, I bought this little immersive thing that you just stick inside your coffee, and it like heats it up. It's pretty amazing, but we did finally break down and get a microwave again. I try not to use it that much, but convenience, yes. When you're in a hurry.
It's true. Yeah. And like you said, when both parents are working, your time is extremely limited. And working outside of the home, it makes it challenging. And that's one of the things, I would like to touch on today with the challenges of parenting is time management. Childcare now is so expensive. If you want to hire a babysitter or nanny, if you have that luxury, some of these babysitters now are $50 an hour. It's like, crap, these people are making more than me. I'll look on the
Seriously?
babysitter apps to hire a babysitter, which we've, done a few times, but some of them, I mean, they're up there in the 50 plus range. And it's like, geez, what are you, the super nanny? I mean, what is it you're doing? That's so incredible that you're making more than I make. But apparently, they can charge that. It's pretty incredible. So I think for a lot of people, it's very difficult to afford that childcare nowadays. It used to be babysitter you could get for a reasonable rate and they didn't have to be employed on a full-time basis or guaranteed a certain number of hours a week. It'd be like, a few hours after school, maybe help with homework a little bit. But now, it's very specialized in terms of what these babysitters do and what they want in return to be compensated for their time and skills.
Yes. And that was a huge part of why we as a couple opted for me to stay home, because when you look at the cost of 3 children in childcare, my wages would have been mostly going to childcare. And I feel for the parents who have to do that. I mean, I guess that's where hopefully grandparents can come into the picture a little bit more. I'm seeing more of that. Are you seeing more of that where
A lot
extended
of that.
family?
Yeah, now that you bring that up, a lot of that where you'll see grandparents at the games, the practices, dropping off or picking up, even the award ceremonies, it'll be the grandparents attending because the parents are working. But it kind of makes me think like, geez, so we live in a time where during the boomers era, they could easily afford to have one parent stay at home and then another one working. And now we live in a time where both parents have to work full-time jobs, make six figures to make ends meet. And then, yeah, hopefully the grandparents can step in, to compensate for what they can't.
That's one thing I saw with remote work during the pandemic, after the pandemic. A lot of parents thought that was desirable, but it was that I did some remote work while I was trying to also keep my kids home. And oh my gosh, that is a huge challenge because I had my desk set up. I had to literally like put up a stop sign in front of my desk because they would just see me working and just assume that they could come up and talk to me, and I'm trying to focus. And man, that's not easy, but I did save on childcare. So
Yeah, and being the stay-at-home parent, which you and I have both had that task, is not as easy as people may think or society, may stereotype. For me, I had worked outside of the home and my wife had stayed home for the first 9 years. And now we've kind of switched where I'm working from home, she's working outside the home. And so now I'm getting up and making the lunch and getting the kid ready for school and then managing all of the activities and overseeing the house and cleaning and laundry and, running a small little business here at home. Heather, yeah, my hat's off to all the stay-at-home parents. Now that I've experienced after being the person who, hey, I just go to the office, I have adults all day, I just deal with work stuff, which I'm not saying one is easier than the other, but it's interesting to see that sometimes the stay-at-home parent, they have responsibilities that are very unique in the sense of you're the cook, you're the cleaner, you're the manager of a household, you're the manager of shipping and receiving, you're the manager of school activities, which one thing with these schools is what I've learned is that, oh my gosh, all these apps that you have to utilize to communicate. I swear there are 4 different apps. You got the Dojo, Parent Square, like all these apps, and you have to, try to navigate like, okay, which one is for the teacher communication? Which one's for the school communication? Then they're like, oh no, you got to go to the portal, the ZO portal or whatever the heck it is online to look at your kids' absences and grades. And then, oh no, you can't submit that document there. It's got to be over there. It's like, I sent them a message. Like, can you guys streamline this a little bit? Can you make it a little bit easier? And then you send an email and oh, you're lucky if you get an answer because, oh, you didn't send that through the Parent Square. You got to send that through Parent Square. That's only Parent Square. Anyway, it's challenging being the stay-at-home parent. It really is. And I think the stereotype in the past was, oh, it's easy. You just sit at home and relax and have a martini, watch soaps while, your family's away. But I think sometimes it's harder, especially if you have young children and you're a mom or dad and you're home with young kids all day. And that can kind of make you go insane because when you're at work, you're around adults and you're having adult conversations. And then you come home and it's goo goo gaga, but, dirty diapers. And that's a totally different dynamic.
yeah.
What's your experience? What was your experience, Heather? You were a stay-at-home mom for a parent for a long time.
Yeah, no, and having 3 kids under the age of 4 at the same time when it was toddler, baby, diapers, pull-ups, all of this messy, I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I remember being envious. My husband would be like, and he works hard and works long hours, but I remember thinking, you have it easy. Like I was a little bit resentful for a while because I never expected it to be so difficult. And not having the adult interaction, I would be like, you get to go to work and you get to talk to people and you get to have breaks and you get to eat meals because he works in the industry, they feed you and that are already made for you. And here I am having to cook for these 3 kids, picky eaters, and they're throwing up or they need diaper changes. Yeah, I had a lot of resentment initially, but that forced me to find a path for myself a little bit. I had so much mom guilt, even thinking about like, can I go take, like a cardio bar class and leave them with a babysitter? I didn't want to leave them with a babysitter. And my second child has special needs. So that added a whole other layer of trust and mom guilt. If I leave them with someone, we don't have grandparents that are close by. We didn't have that in our family. So to trust someone to take care of my kids was really difficult. But when I finally started to get some things that were for me, then I started to, I don't know, find a more positive part of it. And now looking back, my kids are teenagers, and I think it benefited them so much to have me home. And I realized what a blessing that was and what a luxury that was for us. I mean, not a luxury. We made a lot of sacrifices. So if I had worked and we had dual income, like we could have had so much more. I could have driven that Mercedes, but the sacrifice is so worth it. I look back now and yeah, no regrets.
Yeah, and that's one thing you have to consider. And I guess you have to make that choice as a parent or parents as a couple. What do you want? Do you want more time with your kids? And that was one thing that we made a choice, to have Melissa stay at home with our son and be able to be there with him and have that interaction with him full time, which was great. I mean, I feel very blessed that we had that opportunity and we were able to make that work financially. And yes, of course, I had to work more and I wasn't home as much. And that's always stressful, especially with the parent that's home alone. Not easy. And not having that backup or take a break because, yeah, you don't get a break. And especially if you have young kids, babies who are up at night and you're up all night and your schedule's all crazy and multiple kids, trying to juggle nap schedules. And oh my goodness, it is a lot. And I just, again, hats off to the parents that work outside the home and hats off to the parents who work at home because they are both challenging uniquely. And when you're away from the home, you miss out on stuff. And when you're at home, you may have a little too much sometimes. And you need a break and you need a little bit of help. And it's great if you can afford it to have someone come in and do things and, let you have that break. You can go to a class or do something that's not full-time parenting 1 or 2 hours a day or have a grandparent come by. But yes, if you don't have family nearby, if you don't have that immediate support system, you're kind of on your own and you do feel isolated at times and maybe a little unappreciated. Maybe sometimes your spouse, they don't, they're tired. They just worked a long day outside of the home and had to deal with their own stress and the crap that you have to deal with at work. And then, you come home and then your spouse is burned out from being at home and you need to help them and try to, okay, I'll take over now home duties. And I went to a dad's boot camp before our son was born and they talked about that. One of the great lessons that I learned in that was that, hey, before you come home, guys, if you need to, just sit in the driveway for 10 minutes in your car before you walk in the house, readjust yourself, recalibrate, remove that stress from the day, take a moment, and then get in your mindset of, okay, now you're the at-home dad. You're not at work anymore. You're dealing with things differently. So take that 10 minutes and it'll be a game changer. So you have more patience. You can, okay, now there's going to be a crying baby, a tired spouse, cleaning, there's going to be things you need to help with. So take that time out. And that was invaluable knowledge. And that was such a great resource. That was through our local county here. They had set up these classes for first-time parents and they had session for dads and learned a lot, how to.
I love that. We need it. We need more dad boot camps like that or mom boot camps, whatever, like partner boot camps. Because I remember thinking at times like you worked a long day. This is my resentful side. Like you worked a long day and you come home and you get to turn on the TV and watch some sports. And like I had so much guilt if I even went to take a shower. Like I had a baby monitor in there with me. Like, somebody gonna die while I'm showering? And yet I would watch him come home and be like, I'm just gonna kick up my feet and watch some sports. And I'd be like, ah.
I could see the resentment. Not all guys do that, and I don't think Glenn did that to an extreme.
I love my husband.
He didn't crack open a beer and sit in his lazy boy and sit back. Oh, honey, grab me another coal one. I worked hard today in the coal mines. No, not like that. But, a lot of guys nowadays in male, female, whatever gender, mixed, blended families, LGBTQ plus families, whatever it is, we're all just working at the same goal of, oh my gosh, how do you manage this? Especially in the busy world where our jobs are more demanding. I feel like back in the 50s and 60s, you did your 9-to-5 job and you didn't come home. And now it's like, oh, your phone's blowing up, your computer. Oh, I got to send this email. I got to, hey, honey, you want to watch Netflix while we come? No, actually, I need to do 10 emails before I go to bed. And I got people blowing me up and asking me questions for the shoot tomorrow, whatever it is your job is and you're working on. I'm sure there's always something. I remember people that worked in the ad agency or like in the advertising world, they would talk about how They would be up. They would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to check their phones to get ahead of the next person and make sure that. And this is the American dream
Whoa.
nonsense of work your ass off, work overtime, work double time, work as much as you can. Or I'm going to one up the next person and show them, oh, I was up at 3 a.m. sending emails and replying to stuff. It's like, no. Get sleep. Respect yourself as a human being. Respect your family. Respect yourself as a parent. And don't do those things. Have boundaries for work and limit that. And it's
Yeah.
hard. It's so hard, Heather. I know, because you're trying to make ends meet. You're trying to make money. But at the same time, we have to kind of put our foot down as a culture and a society and say, you know what? No, we're not doing this anymore. We don't need to work ourselves to death. We need some time with our families. Oh, we got to work on the weekend. It's like Office Space, right? That movie. Like, yeah, we're going to need you to come in on the weekend and do those TPS reports. No,
Take a bat to the fax machine and say no.
that's right. That's right. We got to fight back against the system and
Office
say,
Space.
I
Yeah.
love that movie.
But don't you
90s.
think, yes, don't you think also that like working in the entertainment industry, it's almost like that's expected though for you. It's just, that's the one sickness that I think the entertainment industry breeds is I've got to keep working, work. These hours that we work. Now, mind you, I used to work in the entertainment industry as well. That's how I met my husband, was on a set, on a film set, but like work all of these hours, get this much sleep, and then get right back into it. And it just breeds this whole, like, because if you don't, you're not going to get hired again. You've got to keep yourself relevant in this industry and hireable. And it's so disgusting to me. And especially, as the spouse of someone in the industry, there were times when I was like, man, they have zero respect for the family unit and for even just an individual's health. Like that they can have a turnaround that's 8 hours after working like a 12 or 13, 14, 15-hour a day. That's a whole other rant, soapbox moment.
Oh, it's so true. And I'll just touch on a little bit of working in the industry. I worked as a production coordinator, supervisor, line producing in the commercial industry. And yes, they demand that you work crazy hours. And we finally now are just starting a union. Shout out to 111, which is our union that's finally being formed for the commercial industry. I think it's one of the last, positions in the industry that didn't have a union representation. And so, yeah, we need unions. We need to stand up to that. But even with unions, it's like you said, people want to, I want to make sure I'm hired again, especially now with the industry falling apart. Like, oh my gosh, is there going to be any work tomorrow? I'll work 30 hours. I don't care.
Right?
30 hours in a row. I don't need to sleep.
Yes.
But what happened with me is that I would just be working so much. And especially when we were trying to work through COVID with all the testing and crap that was going on, we were so busy, like literally you were lucky if you could get up from your desk to pee. I mean, I am not joking. And you're ordering food delivery and my son's like, Dad, like I can barely kiss you goodnight. And I have to get back to my computer because I have to manage all this crap that's additional, that previously it was a lot. Now it's even more so. And it was just too much. And I honestly don't know how single parents do it. Getting back to the parenting thing, it is so challenging, even with two parents nowadays, to raise kids. And our parents divorced when I was 10. And it was challenging for her being a mom at home with 3 kids. And, she had full custody of us and we stayed with her. And I can't imagine a single parent these days. And I see them all the time. And oh my goodness, huge applause to them and gratitude to them, because it's so challenging when you have 2 and when you're just on your own and by yourself. Wow, you deserve accolades, because it's so challenging to manage kids, family, finances, job, going from point A to point B, traveling all around and trying to keep all the activities going, keep the kids with all the opportunities that you want them to have. It is really, really hard. And I've met parents who are doing that. I've met parents who have that challenge of doing it all on their own, and the other parent is completely out of the picture. And it's so tough, so tough. Heather,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mad
I know
respect.
we've been blessed. Yeah, we've been blessed, but we know watching our mom, it was very challenging to be that single parent. And again, if you are in that audience, members, if you're a single parent, I just want to say, hey, shout out to you and huge accolades, because you
Yes.
deserve it. You're working hard.
Yeah.
We know. We all know.
Yeah. I got a taste of it. I used to call, and my husband did not like me saying this, but I would say I'm a single parent during the week when he was at work, because he would come home and the kids would be in bed. It would be, almost midnight. And then he'd have to get up before any of us got up the next morning. And I would basically be running the ship by myself. I mean, there were times when I would literally sit in a corner bawling. Like, I didn't do a lot of drinking, but I was like, I'm going to need some wine at the end of this shift. And the shift was endless. So I actually have some good friends who are doing the single parenting mode, and single parenting, not just when they're little, but teenagers. I can't even imagine that on my own. So again, accolades to you, because it is not an easy one to navigate. And I think that our single parents out there should be getting like kickbacks, like some financial incentives for what they're doing. Actually, all parents should, but
They should, not just that tax credit thing, but yeah, there should be other incentives. You are raising the next generation of humans in our society. So yeah, that would be helpful. When you are watching kids now, I think it is challenging, especially with devices and screen time. I don't know if you encountered this. Your kids are a little bit older, but sometimes it's easy to say, okay, here, go ahead, take your tablet. Yeah, you can have a little screen time and it'll be my babysitter for while I need to do a task for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. But at the same time, we have to be careful, because then is that just suddenly the substitute for a babysitter and the kids are constantly on screen time? What are your thoughts on that, Heather?
I'm going to just speak frankly here, be very transparent. Before I had my kids, before they were old enough for devices, I was judgmental. I was that judgmental mom who was like, I'm not going to do that. They watch too much TV. I'm not going to do that. And then boom, 3 kids under the age of 4, one with special needs, me basically losing my mind every day, right? I was like, I need something. I didn't have a babysitter. I didn't have a grandparent to come over and watch the kids to give me some reprieve. Yes, let's turn on Blue's Clues. The TV became a big help for me, and the judgment started to like diminish, because I realized, yes, there are extremes with electronics and with having your kids on them. But I think that there has to be balance. But when you're in the throes of it, when you're feeling like you're like in war-torn mode, like I'm just trying to climb out of this every day. And my mental health was being so challenged by having these 3. And I love my kids, but it was a lot. It was a lot. So when I could turn on that TV, especially for my oldest, while my middle son with special needs was doing his therapies, and while my baby girl was like, still nursing or something, so that I could just know that he's in the right, like in a safe space right now, and that I can handle all of this. It did become a thing. And then when tablets came out, my kids started with Kindles. It would have been so easy. And I'll admit, like there were times when I was like, here, take a tablet, so I could go cook, so I could go do laundry, so I could go to the bathroom. Like I needed that sometimes. I did. To this day, as teenagers, once they got phones, which we didn't do until my kids were, I think, junior high, and my son with special needs, it wasn't until high school. I, you know, my oldest is 19, so he has freedom, and I'm still like, "Oh, don't do too much." And my daughter, I have to limit it, because they would be on it all day. But you know what? So would I probably, if I didn't have, if we had grown up with it, maybe we wouldn't have limits. But because our childhood and our teen years were not about electronics, maybe, that gives us a little more of a balance in our minds and in our lives to be able to hopefully give that to our kids. But no more judging parents for me if you have to resort to that for your kids. Now, limits. And I always talk to my kids about the woo-woo side of EMF exposure and the things that holding a device right up here, to their vital organs, the damage that it could do over time, the brain, the things that it can do to the brain. So there is balance. We definitely did a period where there were limitations. You can't have your devices. And for my son with special needs, it's still that way. You get your device these 3 days a week. But if he could, he would be on it all day. And there are times, especially during summer break, where I'm like, I need you to be on it for a while. Or when I was working from home doing remote work, I need you to have something so I know that he was my, little troublemaker and could be off getting into some things that he wasn't supposed to. I needed that device for that. So it's a balance. It's so hard, Tristan. Like I know you guys are really good with your son about, and I think that he's really good, like you said, about the limits on himself because he loves being outside and he's such an adventurous kid. And I was more of a helicopter parent where don't go out without me. You can't go run around the neighborhood. You're gonna get kidnapped. So maybe I messed this all up.
Well, I mean, I have to shift a little bit because I have to admit that yes, we've always been really good about limiting TV time, screen time, tablet time, and all of that. Now, a year ago, there was an incident at our son's school where something happened to him with another student, and it wasn't reported to us. And I went to pick him up from school, and he was crying. He was upset because there was harm done to him by another student, like physical harm. Long story, I won't go into those details, but at that point, I'm like, okay, we were totally anti-phones, never give him a phone. Why would a kid that young need a phone? But then, especially with other things that happen now, like school shootings, like, okay, you know what? We're getting the phone, and he's going to have a phone, and at any moment, there's a problem because obviously, unfortunately, the schools are not always going to be the best at communicating with the parents. I want my kid to be able to take that phone and say, Dad, there's an issue. Come get me now, or I'm in trouble. Or, hey, there's a bad guy coming into the school and we're all hiding under our desks. Like, I want that communication. Sad as it is, that is the world that we live in today. It's like, holy crap. Why is it like this? Why is it this crazy? But it is. And yes, you want to be able to communicate with your kids. So as judgmental as I've been and a hypocrite in the past, of, oh, no screen time. That's horrible. That's bad. And seeing babies with tablets and everything. I still think you need to limit that. But now our son has a phone and we limit that as well, the access, parental locks and all of that, and try to give him freedom to make the right choices with it and to limit his screen time and everything. And he has been good with that. We're very proud of him. But really, it's a communication device because, unfortunately, that's another aspect of parenting now that I think in the past, what did they have to worry about? You have kids at home and maybe they ate some, paint chips off the wall or whatever. But now it's like, yes, they're on tablets. I know we talked about this before. They're interacting with people and doing things online. And so, yeah, that it's a double-edged sword. That device can be helpful. And it can also turn out to be this evil thing that unfortunately can go down a very dark path. Or yes, it can be, hey, let's watch Puffin Rock.
Wait, what is Puffin Rock?
It's this great animated series, Heather. It's on Netflix, Puffin Rock. We used to watch it all the time when I was younger. Or, Sid the Science Kid. But now, yes, they have access even through browsers. They can bypass some of the parental stuff, the YouTube parental locks. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're going to get around it.
Don't fool yourselves, parents. Like, you guys know, speak on it, because especially as teenagers, they will outsmart us every time with these devices. Every time. I always said that. I'm like, yeah, we're going to put that. What is that one? It was like Bark or something where you put it on your computers and it's supposed to be like a nanny for your computers. And I'm like, these kids are going to outsmart it every time. And they do. And they do. But I wanted to speak really fast about when you talked about giving them phones and the school shootings. I mean, we actually had one in our community, a shooting at our local high school. And my kids were in elementary school within 3 miles of that high school. And I had no way of communicating with them. And I remember, like, you couldn't even call into the school because everyone was trying to call in. And we just got the notification on one of those apps that you mentioned, like, boom, we're on lockdown. Don't come try to get your kids off of campus. It was one of the most frightening things for me as a parent. I got in my car and I just drove over to the school and there were police everywhere. Like, in that mom mode of, I've got to save my kids from whatever this might be, because they didn't know where the shooter was. And I got over there and realized I have zero communication with my children. They were just too young to have phones. But that's why in junior high, I was, okay, I got to do this. And it does, when they have lockdowns now, which they tend to, not just drills, I'm able to be like, or earthquakes, like we're in California, earthquakes are a huge risk here, to be able to be like, are you okay? Like, I just want to be able to text. But interestingly, our schools here, our junior highs and high school, our junior highs did this last year and high schools are going to implement it next year. No devices. So I loved this about my son's high school. The teachers, some of them, this was still a choice, would have them check their phones in. They had pockets on the wall for each person, like I think it was numbered by their desk, and they had to check their phone into that pocket when they walked in. And so the junior highs implemented a thing. You cannot bring your phones out during the school day. I think they let them have it like at brunch and lunch, but now our high schools are going to do that next year. So it'll be really interesting to see, because that's, to me, like it's a double-edged sword. I love that they want the kids to be, because, let's face it, they're going to be on their phones during class. They're going to be like, and also AI. They're trying to get rid of them being able to access AI easily for whatever. But not being able to contact them whenever, although I should be like, listen, if they're in class, I shouldn't have to contact them. They're in class. They should be focused. Brunch and lunch, yes, contact me. I like having that access to them, but we'll see what happens. Are your schools there doing anything like that?
Well, just to speak on the phone thing and having access to it while they're in the classroom, a really crazy story, and we're probably going to get shadow banned for this on this episode, which is, I don't know. I mean, you talk about school shootings, but interestingly and sadly, kind of heartbreaking, when our son first got his phone and I was dropping him off as I do each morning at school. I can't, it's hard to talk about this. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is the world we live in. My son gets out of the car and he's like, I roll the window. I said, bye, Dad. Oh, it's great, Dad. I got a phone in case a bad guy comes in and tries to do anything to us. I can call you. I'm like, yeah, have a good day at school. Don't get shot.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the world we live in. And why aren't people up in arms about this? Why aren't people like, hey, we have a problem in our society where our kids are at school, teachers are at school, and they have to be concerned about being shot by someone that goes suddenly on a rampage and crazy people, mental health problems. I mean, we as a culture need to address these issues with mental health, especially, and then also have a vetting process or better requirements in order for you to obtain firearms. And I think it's great that recently on one of these school shootings, parents were held accountable because they gave access to the weapons for the kids and they went to prison. And one of those things that we tend to just push under the rug, like, oh, it's fine. Everything's good. Rainbows and unicorns, keep going to school. Everything's fine. Everything's good. This fake facade that we try to put on and pretend that our country's great and everything's good, but it's not. And it's okay to admit, as a country, we're not good. And we have a problem and we need to address it. We can't keep pretending. And then, like you said, oh, I didn't think it would happen in my area. Like, I live in a safe place. I live in a small town. I live outside of the big city where there's violence and crime. And then, yeah, all of a sudden it happens. And especially now with social media and the pressure it's putting on these young kids, more peer pressure than ever. They can quickly be shamed. Things can go from greatness to darkness in a snap, where one moment they're on a high and the next minute they're on a low, and, suicide and all these horrible things that can happen. Or they just get angry about something and now they have access to a high powered weapon and they can go in and unfortunately do a lot of damage. It's so sad. And I just hope that we can address that. As a collective, as parents, we need to come together and say, hey, enough is enough. And then as a collective, as a culture, a society, and a country, we need to come together and say, is this really what we want? I mean, I believe in the right to bear arms. I believe in 100%. I own a firearm. But I believe at the same time, gun safety and responsibility. You know what? Make me go to a class. Make me get a particular license or permit to have that weapon, which in California, actually, I do have to register it and they do track all that. Also, I need to be responsible and prove that I have it locked up and my kid doesn't have access to it because he may do something that he doesn't understand. Kids don't understand consequences. Their brains aren't developed at a young age and they're still developing in hormones and all of that. Things happen. It's really unfortunate, but things happen. And sorry to digress and go off on that diatribe, but
We might get canceled for this episode, but I think it's important to speak on these topics because we are parents in the 21st century having to parent through things like this that our parents didn't have to. And I want to touch on something that, again, might be controversial, but especially to speak on what happened in our community. The blame that immediately went to a single mom, by the way, she was a single parent whose child had been the shooter. The blame and what I saw happening on social media and just tearing her apart. You're a bad parent. How could you let this happen? And then later reading and hearing that everyone spoke, a lot of people spoke about this being a young man that they would never have predicted this could happen, and he didn't fit the profile necessarily. So again, like, we immediately put this like blame on this parent, and I felt so much sympathy and empathy, like, oh my gosh, she probably, and trust me, like, I read so much about people who were just evil towards her, and I get it, like, it was awful. We lost two young people in that shooting, and I totally understand people's anger. I do. But to blame the parent without really sitting in their shoes and understanding, like, sometimes you think you know what's going on with your children and you may not. Or maybe she was working, two jobs and couldn't be home that much, but who would have ever expected that? I won't I won't continue. I know. Like, I'm sitting here going, oh my God, we could get shadow banned for this. But we are the Sibling Soapbox. We are on top of topics that could be controversial. We're not just hey, this is all about the fun times in life. These are real things that are happening, and especially in this episode with parenting, things that we have to take a look at and dive into. So anyone out there, if you would like to comment and give us some feedback, your life as a parent in the 21st century, we would love to hear your feedback and what you're going through as a parent, and even on this topic, if you like, and send us a message or comment below. We would really like to hear your take on this as a parent.
And we would love to hear feedback on this, because I think about, if we are to look back in the history of our country, at what time has it been this complicated for parents? Because, I mean, the boomers, we grew up the latchkey kids. You got a key, just go home, take care of yourself, deal with it. No one was there. We didn't have a babysitter. We didn't have nannies. We didn't have all these things. And the parents back then, the boomers, didn't have to worry about, and maybe this is why some of the grandparents are stepping up and stepping in. First of all, it's so expensive to have a family nowadays. It's not affordable. Both parents have to work. And then you have to navigate all this other crap, which is social media, phones, school shootings. As you have experienced, if you have a child with special needs, then you're navigating a school system that may or may not advocate for that. And that's super challenging. And I don't know if you want to speak on that a little bit, Heather, but I would love to hear your thoughts. But again, it's just so hard nowadays. And I would hope that the boomer generation, calling you guys out here, would have some empathy and really think about where you are. And as you're leaving this place, think about, the legacy you're leaving behind, and the challenges that your grandkids have now, and the challenges that your kids have down raising them, and how we need to all come together. And whatever divisiveness that there may be, we need to make amends and come together in order to survive through this, because it is extremely challenging. And if we don't fix this, the kids that are being raised now are going to be in a very bad place, and we need to make the world better for them. That is our responsibility as grandparents, parents, caregivers. We have to make the world a better place for them. And when I see Gen Z being all pissed off and like, what the hell is this world that we're in, and who did all the damage? It's like, yeah, I would be pissed off too, because it's a heck of a mess. No wonder they're frozen, or they're just like, I don't care if I go to work tomorrow, because I don't even know if the world's going to be here tomorrow.
Well, is it true that birth rates are declining? And I wonder if millennials are now seeing this and they're like, I don't want to have kids. This is just too much. Maybe I'll be interested in to see the Gen Z, my kids, where they will be with having children, bringing kids into the world and parenting. Yeah.
It's true.
But I did want to say, when we talk about parenting and a lot of my teacher friends are talking about the issues that they're having at a very young age now with behaviors in the classroom, and not just behaviors, like, but consequences. There really are so few now, and they, as teachers, their hands are tied. They can't do very much. I was even talking to a friend yesterday, and she was like, yeah, we can't even send them to the principal's office anymore. I'm like, what? We used to get sent to the principal's office. There were paddles involved. Like, do you remember that? You could get paddled, and no, that cannot happen, which I don't, I'm not an advocate for paddling, but like, there aren't any consequences. They can't do much. So the behaviors are going off the charts. And for me, especially as a mom of a child with special needs, it has been difficult to see also their treatment of someone like my son with special needs. There's bullying that happens to everyone, I think, in schools, but to see, I don't know if it's, they don't necessarily, they do make fun of people with special needs, or they just don't seem to have that empathy for them, or they look at them like they're just totally separate. And you know what? This actually leads to my dun, 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 dun. I have a soapbox drop today.
Soapbox Drop.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Do you want me? I'll just. Do you want me to time you? No.
I mean,
just go.
Yeah, no, time me, but this may be a minute. So, but I'm going to speak on this because this has to do with parenting and it has to do with schools. Okay. So I have a son with Down syndrome, and that is different than a child on the spectrum, a child with autism. Yes. But the rates of autism keep increasing. They keep increasing over the years, right? So we're looking at a future where we may have equal, neurotypical and people with special needs, may be half and half. So my soapbox drop today has to do with inclusion. Inclusion, especially in schools. This is not just here where I live. This is everywhere. And I have been a part of an organization called Club 21. Thank you, Nancy, and Club 21. They advocate for people, especially people with Down syndrome, for an inclusive life, but especially in the school system. Now, let me say this. My son is going to be a senior in high school. From the time he was in kindergarten, we tried to get full inclusion for him in kindergarten, which was a battle. I mean, we had to bring in advocates and experts to battle him being included in a general education kindergarten class. Oh, behaviors. Oh, he would lay down on the carpet and wouldn't want to do his work. I'm like, he's in kindergarten. In first grade, same thing. We were battling with our school district. And finally, we just had to throw up our hands because we had an inclusion expert come in, we had an advocate come in, and they tried to train the district and they tried to help, facilitate things that would benefit him, and it didn't happen. So from that day forward, we put him in a special day program, right? Which was fine. We actually landed at a beautiful school with an amazing principal and amazing teachers who really helped him on his journey. But fast forward to junior high and high school, and we were still advocating for some inclusive opportunities, and it's not the norm. So my drop today is, can we start looking at this as making it the norm? Because inclusion works, and inclusion should be something that we are automatically opted into. As parents of children with special needs, we should be able to opt out. It shouldn't have to be, we have to hire an attorney, we have to hire an advocate to be able to opt into this. And here's why. There have been many studies that show that not only the children with special needs who grow up in an inclusive school environment, the benefits to them, but also to our neurotypical children, to our Gen Ed population, the benefits to them. There's a program out of Cal State Northridge. They run a charter school, and we tried to get in through the lottery for years because they're just amazing. And they painted the way of, you give this opportunity for kids, neurotypical and typical, to work alongside each other, and they both benefit in ways that go beyond like what we could have ever imagined. What I found the most interesting was the learning. So when they sit next to each other, when you've got a child with special needs with somebody neurotypical, and this neurotypical child is helping this child with special needs and teaching them, they actually learn in a better way themselves. And it's a beautiful thing. And not only that, then that lends to this whole factor of the bullying that goes on, or that, like our high school has a ton of gen ed and special ed together, but they're not really together. You got some out here, on the corner in those classrooms, and maybe they'll be together at times, but nothing like that where it's in a classroom setting and they're actually interacting. That's one of the hardest things to find. And if we had had that, and if our children grew up with that, I firmly believe that we as a population would have more empathy and more understanding, and there wouldn't be this segregation that happens with people with special needs. Now, I understand, I have a lot of mamas and dads who are like, my child with special needs would not do well in that setting. But again, we should have the option to opt out, not try to fight to opt in. The benefits would be incredible, and we're going to have to change this for the future.
That's great, Heather. That's beautiful. And I just have to say, your son is incredibly lucky to have you as an advocate for him because, I mean, I've seen the work that you do and oh my goodness, the stress that you endure as you fight for his rights. You're really just fighting for a human's rights. And Heather, the love that you give and the passion that you show on this topic. And I mean, you're fighting for your son. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there that can relate to that particular issue or similar issues where they have to fight and advocate for the rights of their children. And I would love to hear stories from other parents out there. Share with us, what have you experienced? What are your trials that you've had to go through to try to create a better situation for your children, especially within a school system? And, it's people like you that have made that change and, pushed forward a paradigm shift of, hey, we're all humans here. Whatever our differences are, we don't need to cast out each other. We need to embrace each other and help each other. So much of this bullying and crap is like, oh, you're different than me, therefore, and whatever it is, special needs, different ethnicities, races, we have to stop that.
LGBTQ. Yep.
Yep. Gender, whatever it is, we have to come together. And Heather, maybe you could just touch on a little bit of that process where I know is it once a year that you go through that process of having to sit down with the school officials and kind of, what is that called? If you could just explain a little bit.
You've seen my social media posts. It is the IEP meeting that happens, the individualized educational plan. You know what I'm talking about, parents with special needs. But if you don't, this is a meeting that happens with your child's team. And that can be the set of teachers, that can be the therapists in the schools, the occupational therapist, the speech therapist, the adaptive PE, and every person on the team gets together and has this meeting about your child. It is stressful. And I always promote this on my social media. Like, I'm a dancer, and because it can literally, like, leading up to it, you are doing so much work and reading reports and looking at goals and making changes, and you need some stress relief. So I always post now about dancing before I get onto this meeting, because most parents, you're so in it and you're so invested because it's your child. And sometimes it can feel super combative with some of the team members. Haha. But relieving some of that stress has been helpful for me. And oftentimes, like, what we had to do was hire an advocate, and an advocate is someone who can come into the meeting and they know everything with the law and all the things to keep everything in line with the districts. And it's been very helpful to us. We've had an angel who came in and helped us over the last few years. Thank you, Anja. And it's a lot. It can be a lot. But also, I have to say, like, parenting is a lot. And may I just speak on the fact that I thought when my kids were toddlers, babies, that was the toughest time. And like, okay, it's going to get easier. But enter the teen years, and I've got 3 teens. That is a whole other ball game, because I felt like the younger years are more of a physical investment, where you're like, okay, this is marathon time, little sleep, and I've got to keep up with them. And especially me with 2 boys, I've got to run after them and make sure nobody's like getting into things. But the mental game when they're teenagers, the mental part of it, where it just takes so much out of you if you're plugged in. I mean, I finally understand why some parents are like, see ya, you got this. I'm gonna head out and do this thing. I'm so invested in my teenagers still because I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I can't just abandon this. And maybe that's from my abandonment issues, but the mental game is real. So not just for parents of kids with special needs, but parents of teenagers. Do you hear me? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's exhausting. I love
Yeah.
him.
Oh, yes, you gotta love him. Of course, I'm not there yet. Our son is 10, but getting there. And yes, going back to nowadays, there's just so much more, so much more opportunity for them to be influenced by, unfortunately, negative things. I know a lot of people turn to religion or community groups, or I see parents that just keep those kids busy. Sports, activities, keep them busy, keep them out of trouble. And there's a lot of truth in that, soccer, jujitsu, anything, music, whatever it is. Let's just try to find an outlet and activity to keep them busy, because I do feel like nowadays, sometimes when they're not as busy with activities or days on field, they'll turn to their screen time or they'll turn to friends and maybe get in trouble. But I do have to say, Heather, when we were kids, it does feel like it was a little bit of Lord of the Flies. We were just left alone and figured shit out on our own,
Yeah.
where we didn't have access to all of these things and we couldn't get in trouble in certain ways, but we were just out roaming around on our own.
I know.
My
We
friends and I
survived.
my friends and I used to, no joke, ride our bikes for what would be a 45-minute drive in a car, just go for the day. We're going to ride our bikes and just go to this long bike path that went for miles and miles. And no one thought twice about it. And so it's such a different time.
Yeah, but do you think there are some boomers out there? And we say this with love, boomers, by the way, but who might be listening who are like, oh my God, you guys, I feel like sometimes their generation, our parents' generation was like, are you really hyper focused on this? Like, I feel that a little bit, and maybe there is something to that. Like they were a little more hands off, and maybe that was better at that time. And I don't know, sometimes I wonder if I had been less helicoptery and more hands off, what would have been different? What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, but let's look at it though. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the 80s, 90s. You have a kid, and that kid does something like, what's the worst? They smoke a cigarette, they might drink some alcohol, marijuana, whatever. Nowadays, it's like, oh, by the way, half this stuff could be laced with fentanyl, and your kid could die. We would maybe watch too much TV as kids, but it was so limited. It's Saturday cartoons and after school cartoons and stuff. So but you did ride around and burn stuff with gasoline and jump your big wheel off of a huge jump and get a concussion. But I don't think it was as everlasting as the damage could be potentially now. Sure. And you also kind of learn in a way, like, yeah, you went off that jump, you broke your arm or jumped off the roof of the house. You didn't do that again, hopefully. Nowadays, it's kind of one and done. The fentanyl, the mistake being made texting someone like we talked about previously, or a social media post that haunts you for the rest of your life. The implications are so much greater than they were back then, and no one would ever find out if Joe was smoking a cigarette in the woods or behind the bleachers or whatever it was, or they wouldn't care as much. And now it's like, oh my gosh, someone got it on video of you doing something bad, and now it's forever. So
Yeah.
for the boomers to, kind of, oh, whatever, we were kids. Well, guess what, guys? It's very different now. And please be a little more empathetic towards the younger generations and more supportive. And we need to consider what they're going through, because I honestly don't know as a kid if I could make it through all the crap they have to endure these days. My hat's off to the Gen Z and Gen A coming up. Hey, guys, we hear you. We want to help you. We don't want you to feel alone in the world. We don't want you to feel like you have to clean up this huge mess that was made by the previous generations. And our generations, we have a responsibility to help fix it before we're out of here. We do. And for us to be like, whatever, I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to Cabo. I'm just going to, sip a cold one on the beach. No, bullshit. Get it together, people. We have a responsibility. We need to help these younger generations. We have to fix this planet. We have to fix our society, our culture, our country. We have to make it better. And that's my little soapbox drop. But it's like, come on,
Yeah.
And
we won't label you as snowflakes. That's one of the biggest ones. I'm like, they're calling the younger generation snowflakes. They're so fragile. I mean, is there something to that? Are they more fragile?
Oh, well, here's a good one. Okay, call us snowflakes or them snowflakes or whatever. But hey, boomers, why don't you get on your phone there and do a tenth of the things that these young kids are doing? Do you know how to use the technology? Oh, you're inept. It goes both ways, guys. We could sling the mud
Tristan,
right back at you.
you sound very angry at the boomers. Maybe we need to get a boomer here so that they can
We
offer
gotta
some
get
rebuttal.
a boomer. Hey, but listen, it's our generation too. We have to take responsibility. This is kind of bullshit. We have to be accountable. Even now, you're over 40, you got to start being more accountable to creating a future for future generations and not just saying, I'm out of here. Hey, you guys, good luck. I'm retired now. I'm going to go drive my RV around the country, or I'm going to go vacation, or, even though half of them are probably too old to enjoy that because our retirement age is so far out of reach at this point. But I get it, man. I get Gen Z's
really
animosity.
feel, Tristan.
I get the animosity by these younger generations, and I feel for them. I get it 100%. And I just feel like we all need to step up, and we can't criticize them. Oh, they're lazy. They don't show up for work. Well, give them a reason to work and want to save money and have some kind of a future. If you don't give an employee incentive at a company to come to their job and work, and hey, if you do this and this, we're going to give you this bonus. Well, guess what? If you work in this world, there might not be a world tomorrow. So they're probably like, oh, forget it. We don't care. We're out of here. We're going to, we're going to go travel and just live off our simple life and not invest back into the system because the system that you gave us is broken. And sorry, I know you're right. I'm a little bit angry, Heather. I look at my son as a parent. I see the future for my son. I have to make it better for him. I can't be selfish in these moments and be like, well, what about me? I want for me, me, me. What am I leaving behind for him and his generation? And we must think of that as parents. You can't just have kids and walk away and say, good luck. I had to figure it out myself. Well, yeah, I did, but I didn't have to figure it out with half the crap that they do nowadays. So we must respect the younger generations and give them hope. We have to fix it.
Yeah. I agree. And
I'm going to apologize for my generation, and boomers, you can do the same. We're sorry that it's like this, and we're going to help you make it right.
Take ownership.
That's right.
So I wanted to, before we wrap this up, I wanted to segue into a parenting hack. Maybe you can think about this too. Do you have a parenting hack that you want to share? Because you mentioned something about incentives before, and a behaviorist working with my son with special needs and our family at one point, she gave me one of the best parenting hacks ever. And we oftentimes call it bribery, right? When you see a parent in a store, now, mind you, there are like extreme cases of this, but this behaviorist said to me, you know what? We all work for incentives. Like, we wouldn't go to work without a paycheck. We all need incentives. So parenting hack for the day from Heather is it's okay to have incentives for your child. Now find the balance between bribery and, although is there much of a difference, but they do need incentives, and incentives work. Take it from me and a behaviorist.
Oh, I agree 100% with that, Heather. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Actually, that's very good because yes, we all need incentives. And with kids, especially when they're developing and they're younger and probably even as teenagers, you can elaborate on that. But if I tell my son like, hey, if you do this, you get chore money, right? But if I spin it around to a punishment, say, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to do this, the X, Y, and Z. Oh, forget it. It doesn't work as well. But so I try so hard to remind myself, make it an incentive, make it a reward for an accomplishment, not a punishment for a bad deed. You're right. Absolutely right. And I would love to hear from other parents. Let's share some great incentive ideas for young kids, teenagers. What have you done to kind of guide them on the right path of better achievements and goals in order to accomplish things and keep a smile on their face and not feel like they're always in trouble? Because I fail so many times with being general dad of punishing a little too much or being a little too strict. And I need to try to pull back and say, okay, of course I'm always encouraging and try to be positive, but sometimes I can be like, no. So, it's a balance.
Yeah.
I would love to hear other parents.
yeah, audience, speak on this, because I know some parents are like, no, you need to have a little bit of that, strong thumb in parenting your children, and maybe that's what we're lacking these days. I don't know. I would love to also hear what people say. So remember, you guys can record your own soapbox drops to us. Put it on social media and make sure that you tag us, the Sibling Soapbox, and we will maybe repost you and talk about it on another episode. But we would love to get your feedback. So if you ever have a soapbox drop, please make sure that you tag us and you use the hashtag Sibling Soapbox.
You can just record it on your phone. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Record it on your phone. And hey, you know what? Boomers. I do love you guys. I want to hear from you, boomers. How was it? I know there was some tough love back there when you raised us. And how is it with your grandkids? Because I do notice a lot of grandparents, they'll tend to kind of spoil the grandkids and show up with the gifts and give them the sweets. And then, hey, hope we have fun, which I can relate to as an uncle. I love doing that. Be the uncle, like sometimes, would say the wrong things or do the wrong things. It'd be like, Uncle Tristan. I'm like, oh, I'm just the uncle. I'm not your parent. Bye. So I get it as, a grandparent or whatever. But boomers, we want to hear from you. Share with us. What was your tough love or, more disciplinary? And maybe that does help a little bit to have a show up for work and not call out. I know the millennials are constantly chastised for that. They're told like, oh, we're horrible people. Everyone thinks we're lazy or whatever. And there might be a little bit of truth to that. Maybe the boomers have some anecdotes of like, okay, what's a good way to balance, tough love, a little bit of punishment, but at the same time, be encouraging and loving at the end of the day. Being a parent in today's world is just challenging. So I just want to say to all the parents out there, single parents in, mixed families, blended families, whatever it is, hats off to you. Keep up the good work. It's not easy. We live in, I think, one of the most challenging times, difficult times than in the history of our country and maybe in humanity. We're not just gathering and hunting anymore. We are navigating some crazy technological stuff and influence from outside sources, negative sources, and just try to find the truth within your family, love and support each other and embrace each other. We all are together in this at the end of the day, and we need to reach out and access those resources to help each other, whether it's church or self-help groups or community groups, for moms, dads, whatever it is, LGBTQ plus, whatever it is. Let's all access those resources, and hopefully we can become better parents so that we can leave a legacy of better humans on this planet.
Oh, well said, brother. Well said. I love that. Nice. And if all else fails, just put whatever you need in your cup.
Now,
A little
what are
wine.
you drinking
I'm kidding.
there, Heather?
It's espresso. I'm good.
All
But if
right.
you need a
Oh,
little
sure,
extra
sure.
espresso.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Remember to like and subscribe and share this podcast with others, because that helps us get the word out that this Sibling Soapbox, we want this to be about a community, and we want to hear from you. And thanks for being here today with us. But before we go, dear brother, it's the end of our episode, and you know what that means.
Yeah, I'm going to dance it out because today I just feel like I got on my soapbox a little bit and I'm ready. Let's go. Oh,
And-
thanks again, everyone. Thanks so much. Like and subscribe, hit that bell. We really appreciate you watching and supporting the podcast. We just want to keep going, and we would love to have just that involvement from our audience. So hit that soapbox drop, tag us.
Woo.
Let's do this, Heather.
Yes.
Show me the dance. I'm going to
Parents, your survival dance. Let's
stop
go.
or something.
Dun,
Boomer,
dun,
boomer.
dun.